Welcome to episode 1 of People of Data, where we get to highlight the wonderful people of data. These are our data leaders from various industries, geographies, and disciplines. Discover how companies are using data, their achievements, and the challenges they face. Today on the show, we have Tom Dodson, a technology leader with over 16 years of experience who's currently heading data at WeWork. Tom has previous stints as an engineering leader at N26 and Capital One. For those of you who don't know, WeWork has just emerged like a phoenix from bankruptcy, ready to make some new headlines. This episode is especially special to me because I spent 4 years at WeWork before starting 5X, and it was one of the most positive experiences of my life. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Are you ready to get into it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it. So, what does WeWork do? How do you make money?
Sure. So at WeWork, we provide flexible workspace solutions for businesses of all different sizes. So from freelancers and startups to large enterprises. Our core offering includes beautifully designed office space, co-working environments, meeting rooms equipped with amenities and different services. We focus on creating a community-centric environment that fosters collaboration and productivity for our members. Additionally, we offer enterprise solutions with customized office space to meet the unique needs of like larger organizations.
Awesome. And so I'm assuming the business model is more paying for access and paying for space, or do you
Yes.
also monetize in any more sort of in any digital avenues?
There are some digital avenues as well. We've launched a product called WeWork Workplace. It's kind of a post-COVID product where maybe you have 200 people, but not all 200 are going to the office at the same time, right? So maybe you only need 100 desks instead of 200 desks. And having this ability to have flexible space in that way has been a new product that we've launched that's more on the digital side.
And are there any sort of products you're moving towards, more digital products coming soon?
We're looking at some things as to how can we let some of the customers have some of their data on what's going on in their spaces, who's coming in, how often, that type of stuff.
Exciting. How does data play a part in helping WeWork, with the vision and making money?
Yeah, so data is a real central piece for WeWork's operation and decision making. We leverage data to enhance the member experience, optimize space utilization, improve operational efficiencies. By analyzing the data on our spaces and how they're used, we can tailor the services to better meet the needs of our members, from adjusting layouts and amenities to the planning of events and community activities.
And are there any, if you look at the next 6 months, what are some of the big data projects, and how are they going to make a material difference in the business?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff we're doing now is to really understand our footprint and where we should be, what buildings we should be in, what types of services we should be providing in those buildings, while also really looking at what types of companies are in those buildings, what would be more useful for them based on the industry they are, the size that they are.
And how do you do this, across, WeWork's obviously operating across, 30 countries and, multiple hundred offices and, a large number of cities. What percentage of this is sort of centralized? What percentage of this is regionalized? How do you look at this across different regions of the world?
Yeah, so we operate a global WeWork, and then we have separate franchises. The franchises will do things more specific and tailored for themselves. However, we as a global piece will do things tailored in the different markets. And we'll look at what makes sense in New York versus California versus Barcelona.
Got it. In terms of your footprint, what does the data footprint look like? Team, infrastructure, any tools you're using on a daily basis?
Sure. So we have two lean but very mighty data teams that they're split up into. One is focused on modeling, and the other is focused on the tooling. We have a pretty standard stack, I feel, utilizing Fivetran for ETL for the majority of our systems, Snowflake for our data warehouse, and then downstream Tableau for most of our reporting.
Gotcha. And how about anything on the product analytics side or orchestration, anything around data modeling?
Yeah, so we're using a bunch of different things. Most of the systems we're building will be in Airflow, kind of on top of Snowflake to utilize that data that we have there.
And anything inside product analytics, or and are you using, sort of modeling tools potentially like DBT?
Yeah, so we're actually in the process of kind of redoing all of our modeling. So that's something we're looking at, especially with how we have the different franchises. We want to be able to provide data to them in a way where it's not all these constant requests that are all different, and we can provide it in a way that they can then utilize it the way that they need.
People of Data is brought to you by 5x. It's no surprise that the data space is one of the most fragmented industries with over 500 vendors in 30 plus categories. The analogy we use is data vendors are selling car parts. Imagine walking into a Honda and instead of selling you a Civic, they sell you an engine and you have to build your own car. That's exactly what's happening in the data world today. 5x is an all-in-one data platform that's incredibly easy to use. We make it easy to consolidate your data from your different systems, clean it, structure it, model it, and make it available through dashboards, reporting, and AI. Whether you're building a data platform from scratch, filling in missing pieces, or need expert data services, 5x has you covered. Imagine a world where any team can become a data and AI team in just a few clicks. If you're interested in making sure you don't get left behind in this new world of data and AI, get a demo at 5x.co. Yeah. And you mentioned you have two teams. One focuses obviously on the modeling piece. You mentioned the other one focuses on tooling. Is this BI? Is there any sort of data science involved? And if you can kind of go into these two teams, what would the
so there is BI, separate team from the data segment. Those sit kind of within the different functions.
Got it. So you have two teams. One focuses on modeling, and that's sort of presumably a lot of your Airflow stuff. You have some BI developers which are embedded into the business. And
Correct.
then the second team, when you mentioned it, focuses on other tooling. What does that look like?
Yeah, so they're the ones kind of setting up a lot of these different systems, making sure everything in the infrastructure is running and optimal at that point. So something's going on wrong with Tableau, right? That's the team we're going to call to make sure that everything is up and running. The wrong data is in the model. That's when we'll go to that modeling team.
Interesting. And when you think about infrastructure, is it bundled in with sort of software engineering infrastructure, or the data infrastructure group sort of sits sort of differently?
So they definitely sit differently right now. It is something that I'm looking to try and bring a little bit closer together.
Got it.
And try and marry the two, bringing a little bit more data into our software systems.
Yeah. And obviously the question on everyone's mind right now, especially to our audience of data practitioners, is, what's happening in AI? How does AI play a part in the data strategy? And, are any of these two sort of teams focused on AI?
They are. I would say both of those data teams, as well as the software team, is focused on AI, and they're currently building systems that help internally as well as ones for members.
Got it. And any AI products you want to talk about today?
I'm trying to think of which ones I can talk about that are not still in development. We do have one that we've recently started using that has shown a lot of promise in being able to kind of tell us if a member is more likely to churn and how we can help to prevent that, and what types of things would they need, how can we better service them.
And how would you measure as a business the impact this is having? As a data team, one of the things we're always thinking about is what is the ROI we produce. This is sort of churn is the sort of quintessential sort of day one data team problem.
Yeah.
How are you looking at measuring this?
Yeah, we're kind of just looking at the numbers from a business standpoint as to how much churn is going on before and after, and how we're able to actually impact the ones that we are predicting would churn.
And would you have any numbers for us in terms of having deployed this model? Has there been a meaningful decrease in churn, or even being able to identify this beforehand, or how many sort of cases then is the business teams able to go sort of prevent churn later on?
Yeah, so I could say that right now, the way that we're using it, we're looking to see how we can better service those members, and then looking at ratings from them on that, and that has gone up over 100% in terms of their feeling of how they feel at WeWork. So that's what I can say about how we're modeling that right now, or measuring that, I
Exciting.
should say.
Leading on to our next question, um, what is one achievement which you're particularly proud of where data has had, a positive impact on the business?
Sure. So for this, I would probably have to say a lot of the work with the bankruptcy. So as you know, you mentioned earlier, WeWork successfully exited bankruptcy last month. When we filed for bankruptcy 7, 8 months ago, our primary focus was renegotiating leases for all of the buildings. It's a monumental task that the real estate team had to take on, but they couldn't do it without leveraging data that's provided by the team. Using data analytics, the real estate team was able to identify which buildings to exit, where to reduce our footprint, where to maintain a presence, but really try to restructure that lease term. The strategic use of the data played a crucial role in having a successful turnaround and being able to exit bankruptcy so quickly.
Very, very interesting. Would love to poke into that a little bit. So, as data supported the bankruptcy filings, talk to me about what, is this more on the BI side of it where you were supporting the legal and real estate teams? Are they looking at, my guess is, things like what is the sort of market rate and cost per square foot and, sort of what did we get ourselves into? Or, what sort of data at the end of the day was really, is needed to basically sort of go deeper into this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say it's really a mix of a lot of different data, right? There is the BI parts of being able to look at charts and Tableau about everything going on. There's the pieces for legal, there's the pieces for real estate. However, it's even down to our member data as to, this building, how many companies do we actually have there? What's the footfall? How many of them are going in there? What buildings do we have nearby? How full are they? If we were to close and exit this building, where could we move members to, right? Because the goal would be to try and keep these members and keep them happy, while trying to reduce our footprint. Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but just data all over the place, and having the models correct to be able to pull all of that data is really where the team, I feel, shines, because they're coming from all different systems, right? There's, I don't know, maybe 30 different software systems that we're running that has all this, and being able to collect that, have it in the warehouse in a nice way, where the model could actually pull that out is the key secret sauce.
Wow. And, if I remember correctly, and please, refresh my memory, coming out of bankruptcy, you were able to get rid of, a few hundred leases. Am I on the money over there? And, when you think about getting out of a few hundred leases, what, were any of these, you have data and, very typically this would be, I'm guessing inside of your Tableau and, you have some dashboards and, occupancy and, the buildings sort of around and, cost per square foot and all of these. And as you mentioned, a broad range of, sort of metrics. Legal and the business teams got into particular leases. Was this just, BI support or was they, analytical, you're as an analyst actually, diving into things with the business, sort of, getting into, the analytical use cases. And then again, the obvious question on anyone else's mind is, did ML and AI have any sort of role to play in some of these recommendations, particularly naming to potentially what should we be paying or, or where can some of these members move?
Yeah, so definitely a lot of other teams helping out there. I would say the stuff that my team is producing is more of a foundational piece. Definitely don't want to take anything away from the real estate team and the legal team and actually being able to accomplish all of this, because that's where the real great stuff lies. At least from the things that came from my team, there was not anything AI related for this piece.
Got it. Awesome. Sort of moving on to our last question is, what's one challenge um, the data team is currently facing? We're seeing the data ecosystem evolve very, very rapidly. One of the things which we see data teams always on fire for is, cost optimizations. And, now with the new AI world coming in, we'd love to understand what is one challenge you're currently thinking about, which you're interested in solving.
Yeah, so I would say probably the biggest challenge and the most immediate pressing one. Um, we're currently in the process of migrating many of our legacy systems to a partner system. These
And
systems
I'm guessing
include
this is,
things like,
I'm,
I'm
I'm,
sorry?
I'm sort of guessing this is Yardi, uh,
Yes, yes.
who WeWork
Um,
announced is would you want to just give us
yeah,
a little bit
yeah.
of context on Yardi?
Sure. So we were working with them as a partner with a lot of their software systems that do similar things to what we did, which is why we're migrating over to those. But now them being a financial backer and kind of running things a bit more there on the board. So that's the two different kind of relationships. But for the piece that the data team is focused on, moving those legacy software systems over, things like billing, booking, inventory management, things that Yardi has done very well for a very long time. This migration requires the data teams to build new connections to these new systems, ensuring reporting accuracy, matching legacy data to the new systems for the locations that have not yet migrated, because we're doing it over, over time, over different locations. And as you probably know, no two systems are supposed to do the same type of thing operate the same way. So being able to identify where there is different problems, data definitions, creation, modification, and how those work within the two systems, right? Because everything's going to come down to the data team, and they've got to figure out what it all means and to make sure both of these systems that are different, it all looks the same at the end of the day in reporting. Additionally, being able to address any underlying legacy patch that may have been applied years ago and being able to understand why that fix was there.
Yeah,
Fortunately, though, I have a team of rock stars who are tackling that challenge right now, but it does remain one of the most significant challenges.
got it. And how long do you think you are going to be sort of focused on these migrations, and post these migrations, what does the roadmap look like?
Yeah, so post these migrations, which should be quite a few more months, I would say we're kind of in the middle of it right now, um, is really starting to look forward into what other ways can we be utilizing AI and machine learning to better the business in any way, right? The goal is to reach profitability, but then not stop there, continue on from there, as well as how can the data that we provide a better experience for the member? What new services do we think that they would want? What new ways can the data that we're pulling in kind of really help that experience that we provide?
Exciting. And for someone listening on the show right now, who is looking at WeWork as as a data professional, potentially evaluating it, is sort of WeWork the sort of right place for them? Um, would you want to share anything on is the team going to be growing? Any sort of headcounts opening up, and then why should someone want to come, work at the WeWork data team?
Yeah, so I would say as of right now, we exited bankruptcy a few weeks ago, so we're just focused on kind of keeping that size and making it get to profitability for right now. Perhaps in the future there will be openings. I would say to folks who are thinking about it though, it's definitely an interesting place. And it's an interesting space because it really it's a great place where it marries the physical and the digital. Because we sell a product where people are going to a physical building. Um, whether it's looking at keycard swipes or looking at how people are utilizing a physical office space or using a private office. All of these things kind of combine then with the software, which is something I feel like you can't get in some other places. And the idea that we have a global footprint as well as different franchises, which offer very different challenges for the data team as well. So I feel like there's a lot of different things that someone could work on and a lot of different challenges that they could actually tackle.
Awesome. Tom, thank you so much for being on the show. Uh, and
Yeah, thanks for having me.
congratulations on getting out of bankruptcy. We're excited to see where WeWork shines in the future.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.